It's Savannah River type arrowhead from North Carolina. This one, I believe, is from South Carolina, but most of these are from North Carolina. And it's a Savannah River type here. Most of these are made out of rhyolite or slate. And, this is an old North Carolina knife, archaic knife that's been in the ground for a long time because it shows the patina on it. Savannah River arrowheads from North Carolina and a few there from South Carolina. This one is a Pickwick style here, but they're all in the same style category with the stemmed point. It's pink colored material, Pickwick, and then the Savannah River. And these date back anywhere from 5,000 or 6,000 BC on up to the time of Christ. Most of these would be around the 3,000 to the time of Christ. 3,000 BC to the time of Christ. And here we have some Mara Mountain points from North Carolina. And most of these are from the famous Copeland collection. And all these are from North Carolina. Most of these are rhyolite also. The Savannah Rivers date back to about 4,000 BC to on up to 2,000 or 1,000 BC era. And we have a Mara Mountain. Now the Mara Mountain style 1 point, the bottom portion, the base, is more like this, but on the Mara Mountain style 2 points, it's more pointed like this one. This would be like a Mara Mountain 2 point with the stem like that, more. And I just recently acquired this one, which is North Carolina Mara Mountain. It's a nice point. Anyway, Mara Mountain points. And here we have some Quartz Points. Now all of these are from North Carolina and the South Carolina area as well. All of these are made out of quartz. Some are a milk quartz, and some are a translucent clear type quartz. Now this is just a variety of different arrowheads. Here we have a Savannah River type with the straight stem there, or yes, Savannah River. And here we have a sort of a side notch point, or corner notch almost, point. And here is an example of a translucent style, kind of more clear, you can see through it better, type quartz. Here we have a broken point, a Savannah River point. This one been probably on up to here if it had not been broken. Shame. This is an example of a scraper, just used to like scrape the hides off of animals after they killed them, and to use as a tool. North Carolina quartz points. A variety of quartz. Here we have some North Carolina Guilford Points. And the Guilford Points date back to about 5500 BC on up to about 3000 BC. And some of these are straight-based Guilfords. Some of them are round-based Guilfords, and some of them are Yuma style. Now the Yuma style are the oldest. They go back more towards the Paleo period. This is a nice one here. It's a Guilford or Guilford knife. It's about 4 inches long. Made out of rhyolite. And I like this one because it has that inclusion in it. This little place right here is an inclusion. And that also more or less shows its age. This one's been in the ground a long time because it's patinated back here. This is a Yuma. The Yuma style Guilford has a concave base. You can see it right there more. Guilford Points. North Carolina Guilford Points. Now this is an assortment of Kirk style points, Kirk style points, and Palmer points, which are going back into the early to middle Archaic time period, which would be 7000 to 5000 BC, and or 4000 BC. The ones I like are the serrated. Now here's a real nice Kirk serrated, and the edges are like serrations, like on a steak knife. And that's a stemmed Kirk point that's serrated, so they call that a Kirk serrated. And here's another one, Kirk serrated. Now this particular point here is from Georgia, and that's a pretty point. It was found in the river, and it has that river stained patina to it. Now it's serrated also. Has nice serration showing on that one, and that's a pretty point. It looks kind of like those suckers we used to get. Those dark brown suckers. Here's another Kirk serrated point. And some of these are even older, going into the Palmer style points. This would be a Palmer here. It's a little older even than the Kirk points, or it's more of a paleo transitional style point. And here's an older one. That's a Palmer also. And this is a sort of chopped up, broken Kirk corner notch style. It shows the corner notches right in here. That's a Kirk corner notch. And here's another Palmer style point. And Kirk points, 7000 to 5000 BC. North Carolina, except for the one from Georgia. And here we have an assortment of artifacts. These are pottery style beads that were found in South America. And they date back to the Tirona or Chibcha culture, which would put them back to about 1200 AD or older. And this is a real pretty, I love these style points. These are made out of a volcanic glass, which is called obsidian, and it's jet black obsidian. It's a real shiny black glass, and this is a obsidian knife, and this one came from Mexico, and it's probably pretty old, archaic, I would think. And then here we have a side notch point, which would probably be archaic and side notched archaic point. And this is made out of a chalcedony material, which is well, that's chalcedony. It's kind of like quartz, but not quite like quartz. And side notch point. Here we have an example of an early archaic, or going in towards the Paleo period, old crude Guilford style axe from North Carolina. They're very crude. A lot of times people walk right around these rocks in the ground thinking they're just rocks, and a lot of time they're actually Indian artifacts. So it more or less takes a trained eye to get one, or realize that it is an Indian artifact. Here is an example of a small, full grooved Indian hematite material axe. Now this would be archaic. Of course, the archaic period goes back into about 5000 BC, somewhere back in there. It's grooved all the way around, so that makes it full grooved. And I feel like the full grooved axes are a little older. Some axes later on were like 3/4 grooved. They were just grooved part of the way around, and they were later on. And then after that, they started making just what we call celts without a groove. And the celts were generally made more up into the Mississippian style period, or after the time of Christ in there, but or at the time of Christ. But this is more archaic. Now this is hematite, and hematite is prized by collectors. It's just a different type of iron ore type material. Hematite axe. Okay, now I put a little bit of light on this owl pot, Mississippian effigy style pot, made in the shape or to look like an owl. There you can see his face a little bit better. About 7-inch tall vessel, and it's corrugated or punctuated rather, where they have gone into it when it was still wet and put their fingernails into it and made little punctuated marks in it. And Mississippian style, like I said, is about 600, 700 AD on up to about 1600 or 1700 AD. And they made more ceremonial type things back then. So this is an effigy pot in the shape of an owl, to resemble an owl. His face again. Nicely made.